man, that just sounds too big as an operation. The megachurch sounds crazy. Like, is this the way Jesus intended it? This sounds more like a business than a ministry. How would you respond to that?
Ruslan.
How many Sundays a year are you leading worship?
It just varies. Well, before this year was very different because now, with doing the album, now we're kind of building the next phase of what's happening with Gateway Music, now what's happening with me. But normal worship, any worship pastor serving 2 to 3 times a month, And if you're a campus worship pastor, for me, I worked more in the central office, is where I work. So I'm not in a physical campus. I'm in the office that supports them. And so I'll come into the campus to help and support and lead. So my rotation is a little bit different. But even more so now because with the launch of the album and the music.
So are you kind of the guy over all the other worship pastors?
Okay, so not now. Like I used to be on a team, and the way the structure is, you have Pastor David Thompson. He's like the executive worship pastor.
Okay.
And then you have a lead team, and there's different aspects of of the functionality of different aspects of the church in worship. You got production, you've got artistry, you've got songwriting, you've got administration. So before this year, I was the worship pastor of administration. And so I would meet with all the campus worship pastors, twice a month, work through resourcing them and supporting them, and go visit the campuses, help with campus launches, all those different type of things. And I just kind of ran a team that did all those things, from PCO to all the different things that every worship pastor in the country has to do at a larger scale. So that was what my role was. And so it
doesn't sound very creative. When you describe it like that, it doesn't sound
it's
like
not.
it's not.
Okay. It's not. That role, and really, honestly, man, I talked to so many people about being a worship pastor in a mega church, and a lot of folks well, what do you guys do all day? It's like, man, it's a lot of work. And because at the end of the day, it's about managing people. And the larger you get, the more people there's to manage, more programs to manage. And then the more intentional you have to be about all the decisions you're making. And then you've got more resources at play. You've got more partners at play. You've got more systems to manage. And sometimes you're working on the systems that you created to manage the people. So all those things, that's the life of a church. And as it scales, those things become more challenging, right? Sometimes the system breaks down because you get to a crucial mass of growth and it doesn't work anymore. So you have to find something new and pivot. And so you need leadership.
How many people were you overseeing total? In your previous role?
In my previous role, I had a small staff of 5 people. Okay. And we kind of operated in the office there, but we oversaw and supported 10 campuses. So we got 9 campuses in DFW, 1 in Jackson Hole. And so, we were meeting and supporting them, and each campus, and the campuses aren't massive staff, it's just, but you have, some very necessary things that need to be done. You got your campus worship pastor, you have your youth, or we call next gen worship pastor, and all the different, folks involved in that. So just supporting them, there's a lot of work that's going into that.
Sounds like a behemoth of an operation.
You know what I think it is? There's no job worthwhile that's not challenging. At the end of the day, you're solving problems all the time, and that's what a job is.
Amen.
That's what ministry is all about. It's helping to solve problems in real time, and that's a loving thing for people. And I think, whether it be the staff or the parishioners, how we care for them. And then you still have some of the elements of, it's not just administration, it's not just practicing and doing music. Some of it is discipleship. It's meeting with people weekly, taking people to coffee, hearing, what's going on in their lives, and helping support them personally in their trajectory and their discipleship journey and all the things they're going through, and helping them with that as well.
When someone hears that and their response is, man, that just sounds too big as an operation. The megachurch sounds crazy. Like, is this the way Jesus intended it? This sounds more like a business than a ministry. How would you respond to that, having been in the ecosystem? Before we go into kind of how your role has changed,
for sure.
How would your response be to that?
I would say, whether you're talking about Moses and the children of Israel and the great advice from his father-in-law Jethro of separating and coming up with a system to manage millions of people. This is a biblical principle. There's always been masses of people to be managed and to be supported. You got that. You can go to the early church and the apostles saying, okay, let's find some deacons and some folks to handle the issues going on amongst people. There was some issues with injustice and all those type of things like that. Well, we have to preach the word. Someone else has to handle the business. So let's go find men of good reputation, husbands of one wife and all those things. And I want them to handle those things daily. And that's not Bible class.
Hey, did you know that you can watch videos like this on the Spotify app? We now are on Spotify under Ruslan Bless God Podcast. So if you're driving and you want to go back and forth between listening to the podcast and just the audio or watching the video, consider doing it now on the Spotify app as well as all podcast platforms. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.
That's handling life. It's handling business. People have bills that they can't pay, issues, kids are sick, different things are going on. And that's just a matter of administration. That's a biblical thing. And even if you look at the miracle of the 5,000, right, which is 5,000 plus, really, it's Jesus administrates that. Okay, we're going to get this. God's going to do the impossible, right? We bless this food and God multiplies it. But I want you guys to administrate this. I want you to take this food out. I want you to serve everyone. And then I want you to collect everything. And was that difficult? I'm sure it was a lot of work. And you got 12 guys serving thousands of people, right? So administration and masses of people is not an issue. It's not a problem. It's very biblical and very normal. I think what we end up critiquing or criticizing is when there are people who are abusing that for their own gain. For these are the hirelings that get into the midst of it, the wolves, right? Amongst the sheep. And so I think, and that's fair. We should critique that. We should criticize that, and we should hold those people accountable. But that does not make healthy ministry dysfunctional or crazy or wrong. I think it's highly spiritual, highly biblical. And I believe if it fulfills the heart of God. You look at the world, there are nearly 8 billion people here. That's a lot of people to serve. And here's what people don't understand. You cannot start enough churches to serve all the people that need a church.
That's good.
So if you, honestly, we don't, the issue, we have more churches closing than we have churches opening. That's the issue we've got. So we really need more pastors, more leaders, and more people that would fulfill the mission of Jesus and preaching the gospel and calling people to repentance. That's what we really need.
Hey, if you want to see the extended version of this podcast, completely unedited, consider partnering with us in our online community for as little as $5 a month. In exchange, you get access to these podcasts as we stream them live before anyone else gets to see them. You get access to the replay of our daily after party streams, access to our private Discord server, access to discount codes, and so much more. So help us continue contextualizing the gospel through media, podcasting, and YouTube, and partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Also, be sure to follow us on the Spotify podcast app, on Facebook, and on Instagram. We're constantly posting content there that I think you'll find extremely valuable. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.